guys, Janae here with Janae's Got a Gun, and today's episode we are going to be talking about how to be a good range officer. One of the most important things about being a range officer is giving credibility to the entire competition. We're going to talk about how to be a good RO, talk about the things that you need to do, what you shouldn't do. You're going to have a lot of fun being an RO, and you're going to learn a tremendous amount. You're going to be able to network and meet a lot of new shooters. And you're also going to see different shooters attack the exact same stage in different ways, and could totally change the perspective on how you would have done it to begin with. And while we do this, we're going to have a little bit of fun. So first off, you sign up to be an RO. What do you need to bring? Most of the essential things that you're going to need will be provided for you. Nowadays, pretty much everybody uses tablets, and we're going to use practice score. If not, go back to old-fashioned paper and pen. That should be there. You should have a shot timer. Worst case scenario, pop out your iPhone and you can time it that way. You're going to definitely need something to be able to score, or to be able to see those hits and misses. You're going to need some drinks and snacks, water, Gatorade, something like that. You're going to want a chair or something comfortable to sit down in. You might want a pop-up tent, sun umbrella. Definitely going to want some sunblock, especially if you're one of my ginger boys like Verl Dallin or Wes Roland. They tend to get a little bit red. You're going to want good attitude, a smile, and most of all, patience, because sometimes when you're running a bunch of people through squads and you're giving out orders, it feels like you're hurting a bunch of preschoolers. You will give the best credibility to a shooting competition if you have good, consistent ROs. And alternatively, if you don't have that, you can make the best course of fire, the best range in the country look like crap if your ROing is bad. Now, halfway through the day, you're on squad 6. You get some Jake Bibbert up there that's very creative, and he wants to do something crazy, and you allow him to do it. But you haven't really seen anybody else do that, or anyone that's tried, you haven't allowed them to do it. You're going to have a lot of tension brought on your stage, and there's a good possibility of ruining the entire stage just by allowing something now that you didn't allow prior. So at the worst case scenario, sometimes the match director might even throw it out or make people reshoot. So it's super important that you're very consistent throughout the entire day. Determine at the very beginning of the day how are you going to give every stage brief, and you start stage 1 with shooter 1. You give them the exact same stage brief as you give squad 12. Throughout the day, there might be things that you're like, oh man, we should have done this, or that should be good. Throw that out the window. You go back to where you started so that everybody gets the exact same instruction. And at the same time, if you have shooters that are saying, hey, can I do this? Can I do that? If shooter number 1 is allowed to do it, shooter number 150 needs to be allowed to do it. So make sure that you're always being very, very consistent with that. When I'm shooting your stage and I can't find the target and you're helping me find it, I have boobs, and you're like, oh, look, it's a chick, I'm gonna help her. You better turn around and help the guy right behind me that doesn't have boobs. He needs some help too. So if you're going to help people with target acquisition, help them all. If you're not gonna help them, that's fine too, but don't help anybody. Figure out beforehand what you're going to do if there's a mistake by you or one of your other ROs when it comes to calling impacts. When you're shooting, you want to know if you hit it or not. And most of the time, you see your hit or miss. So don't be a little girl. Impact. You need to have the impact, because when you're shooting and you don't hear it, you're like, did they see that? And now you're all worried because you're thinking, did they not see that? I didn't hear the call. Well, if you call it loud and clear, you know, they know, everybody's happy. What if one of your spotters clearly calls an impact that was a miss? Or vice versa, doesn't say anything, but it was clearly an impact. Be prepared at the beginning of the day and determined on what you're going to do to handle that situation. You have to be the safety Nazi, especially with new shooters, but I've seen very, very seasoned shooters make serious mistakes as well. First off, obviously no flagging. So that muzzle, it always needs to be pointed in a safe direction. Pretty typical to use the 180 degrees. So, everybody's out here, the people are this way, targets and downrange is here. A muzzle should never go even this much further in. The most it should ever point is this way. And for the most part, I think most of us are not even comfortable with that. We're much more comfortable with a small pie wedge out in that direction. And, just make sure that you and your fellow ROs are really on top of that. How are we going to handle ADs and NDs? An AD is an accidental discharge. So this is typically a mechanical failure. You go to close your bolt and the gun goes off. If we are in a safe direction, you need to know with your match director how you're going to handle that. Is that a stage DQ? Most likely you're going to give 0 for the stage. Some ranges will have you throw the shooter out completely and it'll be a match disqualification. An ND is a negligent discharge. So you're not even behind your gun, or maybe you're looking for your target, your finger's on the trigger and you yank it. And you'll probably get thrown from the match. You'll for sure get a 0 for your stage, and we don't want that. One of the challenging things as an RO is when a shooter leans on you to get more points. You need to have a backbone and you need to be able to stand your ground. Don't let them do that. And worst case scenario, if they're pushing really hard on you, just saying like, oh, I know I hit that, you guys missed it, you can't see, make sure you call the match director over. But make sure you stand your ground throughout the day to the guys that try to do that to you, and girls. So we have 2 different types of ROs. We have our lead RO and then we have our spotter.
I am the lead RO. My job is to communicate what the course of fire is going to be to the shooting squad. And then I systematically run the shooting squad through the course of fire so that they have the opportunity to get their hits or misses, and I also record the hits or misses.
I'm the spotter. My job is to keep an eye on the targets, to call impacts, or to observe misses. Impact!
From time to time, you will run into a disagreement with the shooter, and you will need to mitigate that situation. Or if you have to disqualify someone. And when it comes down to that, that needs to end up being the match director's decision, so you should definitely call upon your match director to handle that. So hopefully this sheds a little bit of light on what it's like to be a range officer, and hopefully it will motivate you to come out. If you're new and you want to get into the sport, it is a great way to get acclimated. Like I said, you're going to have a lot of fun, you're going to meet a lot of people and see what you can do in a lot of different ways from different shooters' perspectives. Whether you're new or seasoned, you should be ROing. Getting into the sport, great, but if you're a seasoned shooter, you should probably take the chance to RO when you can, just to give back to the sport. Thanks for watching Janae's Got a Gun. I'll see you on the range, and don't forget your friend beer after you're done shooting. It's colder than I thought it was.